My wife's car broke down a couple of weeks ago. And Boris was coming up the road, right? And he says, "Oh, what's wrong?" I says, "Oh, I don't think. I think the clutch is packed in." Okay. He says, "Oh, let me have a look at it." And I came across, without even a spanner, the thing was fixed. He muttered a few words, and away it went.
Well, you told me he was a magician, didn't you?
No, the Bushikovs, they lived in the foothills of the Carpathian Mountains, which around about a town called Dragomirna, which is in the Moldavian region of Romania. They were identified by these strange beards and moustaches they had, one on each side here and a small beard in the centre. Their magic powers were nothing spectacular. They could do things like produce fruit on trees, nothing like turning water into wine or anything like that.
He's been coming to the club for what, about 15 years? Well, it must be 15 years now.
Ah, it's more than that. A wee bit
You
more.
reckon?
A wee bit more. Not much, maybe another 2 years. Anyways, I said they took advantage of me if they could. But I think a lot of that is to do with his language. The way he spoke, actually, was a wee bit different.
Well, the accent, you couldn't understand them, the accent.
As I say, well,
yeah.
I come from another part of Scotland and they can't understand me, so I can understand how he is.
Well, although the Bushikovs kept themselves, people did fear them. They survived undisturbed for centuries until, of course, the communists took over. In 1940, the Russians seized the northern, eastern, most sectors of the province, and it was formed into a republic. It was only when the Red Army got their tanks that they were actually got the confidence to attack them and to try and take them over, which of course they did. Many of them were killed, and it was only the women and children who were able to flee to the mountain, the foothills, who survived.
People said the Bolsheviks were cowards because they made themselves disappear. It is not true. They were very brave people. They fought like anybody against the communists. The communists, they take them out and try to hang them. But of course the knots would not work. So in the end, they had to shoot them.
Well, I first came across Boris while I was on a salmon fishing holiday in Scotland. He came up with some amazing tricks. I just couldn't believe how good he was. Didn't expect anything like that from the local talent. And some of the tricks I still, to this day, can't work out how he managed it. So I went backstage, still couldn't work it out. I had a look at the Chinese rings, no holes in the rings, no gaps, still can't possibly work out how he did this thing. And the cabinet was completely solid. Usually you'd expect the trapdoor, no sign.
People said, Boris, you can be big star. You can play the big theatres, the Palladium, appear in variety shows. But I am not interested in the pretty girls to help me. I just like to be myself, have enough to do to feed myself, play the little theatres and that. I am not a performing bear. I would not dishonor my father.
I'll tell you another thing. I've got a cat in the house. And that cat will not go to anybody except me and my wife. But see, when Boris comes in about, the cat's up in his lap and it's purring away. Just as content as anything. Incredible. Really.
Oh, I can agree with you. He's good with animals. My friend John's got a wee dog.
I made few friends there. There's and Andy. I make it a club. They're very good. They teach me how to play the dominoes. Andy is very good. He always got the double six. If I got it, I was working magic. And then I like to go to see the ducks down at the park. They are beautiful creatures. I read a lot. My favourite authors are Mill and Bud. I buy a book almost every week. The Black Diamond has been my favourite. I've now read it 4.5 times. Of course, I came to Britain just after the war, when everybody was happy. But initially, I was young, but I was able to work in markets and fill the cap with coins and my belly. This was fine. So after a while, they said, Scotland is like Moldavia. So I came north. And sure enough, they had hills and valleys and people like my own. And they had magicians. And they encouraged me, and I joined the Brotherhood of Sorcerers.
I joined the Brotherhood at the same time as Boris. Oh, but me, you certainly didn't like him. Oh, no, he didn't like. He kept it on. He tried to tell us that we weren't magicians, but we were. But he said we wasn't. But I'll tell you, they weren't no longer through a moot. They threw a moot. No, we're not. Aubrey was saying to get insured for his ark. He kept eating. He took folk, put them right one across a table, and he put an all rusty saw, and he started sawing them in half. And even in a box just on top of the table, there he was, and the bleed was fleeing away, and the folk was scaling out. Oh, you have no idea what's the... No, you can't talk kids to see the like of that, can you?
To work my magic as taught by my father, I do not need the props. But people do not believe that people disappear just out of thin air. So I had to create boxes and illusions and use flashes to make them disappear. It is amazing, but it is like if, for example, you take this sawing in half. It would be logic if the box was coffin-shaped.
A month ago, Gladys and I was up in Banff for a short holiday. We met this friend who said we should go and see this magic act, Boris Szlekov. We went along that evening, didn't we? Yeah. Mm-hmm. In we went. Good act, very good. Did tricks I've never even seen before. This man levitating all over the stage. Never saw any wires. No, mm-hmm. It was good.
One of the tricks I no longer do is make people rise in the air, because too many fell down and hurt themselves. This, of course, is because my father never finished teaching me the magic.
He asked for a volunteer from the audience. Gladys volunteered me. Up I went on stage. He's a big bloke when you're close to him. Then he took out this big skewer. He showed it to the audience.
Must have hit bone.
He took it and pressed it against my neck. I felt it going in. I felt pain. I said, stop. He never apologised. I had stitches.
And Lena was off work for a fortnight.
You can't. The most disturbing thing was, for the doctor, like what? There he was with us all rusty saw, a body across a table, name in a box, and he shot it clean through, stuck him together again. And it actually what? And I says to him, hey Boris, I said, why did you manage to do that? He just turned to me and said, magic. Oh, I says, Boris, I said, you can live over me, mess at me, we're one of the boys. I said, you can tell us, why did you, really why you did? He can't ask. He just looked at me with a feel confused look. What was that?
My man and I were on holiday in Huntly, and it happened to be our anniversary, you know. So we got into a magician's show. When we got in, he was doing rare tricks with rings, and after he did the tricks with the rings, he did tricks with fancy hunkies. It was really good. After he did that, he wanted to do a disappearing trick. So he asked for volunteers to go. My man John got up, and the magician come away with a great big cabinet, and he started saying funny words, and then he put my man in this cabinet, still speaking the funny words, and then after he put him in, there was a great big flash, and then a bang, and a puff of smoke, and my man disappeared. He tried to get him back, but he never come back. So at the end of the show, I get up and I says, "Where's my man?" And he says, "I don't ken." And he didn't want to ken.
Well, of course, we didn't believe a word of it. Absolute nonsense. We listened to her story, gave her the sympathetic ear, that sort of thing. However, do you know, stories began to filter in that this wasn't the first time, and a bit of research showed that over the last 10 years, people have regularly disappeared. So I took an interest. But when I looked in the law, I was very disappointed because there's no provision in law for making people vanish. So we've thought about it, we've discussed it, we've mulled it over, and it seems our only chance is a civil action. Now, our problems are compounded by the fact that Piri was a willing volunteer. It's not as if Szlekov had gone down in the audience, grabbed him, taken him up on stage and sawed him in half. Then you'd have grievous bodily harm. The man would be bleeding, there'd be evidence all over the place. But instead, he just disappeared.
So I went to the police, and I told the police that my man had disappeared. And they said, "Is he away with a woman?" And I says, "Oh no." I says, "We were at a magician's show, and the magician made him disappear. And he has to come back." And the police said, "Have you any witnesses?" And I says, there was 300 witnesses. And they still didn't believe me. Still couldn't do nothing about it. And I can't even get life insurance for him.
You know, there was a test case in America some years ago, in Illinois, if I remember. There was this Leonard Aitken, and he took out an action against a Borsokovian called Ilyev Mankiewicz. It seems Mankiewicz made Aitken disappear, which was fine. And in fact, he reappeared again. The trouble was, not all of him. His left arm was missing. Well, of course, this caused all sorts of trouble and confusion, but it was very straightforward when it came to court. There was the body, but the left arm was missing. Our problem in Piri versus Szlekov is that we don't have the body. We don't have the left arm, we don't have the body. We've nothing with which to substantiate our case.
During the shows, I make people disappear. I know I have not managed to make them reappear. But maybe you know they might be in a better place today. Who knows?